Good day, everyone. I am Zandra Kimpi Pertosa, a second-year student taking up Bachelor of Secondary Education, major in English. I am studying at Negros Oriental State University, Shatin Campus. Today, we will be talking about the movie Troy by giving an interpretation or by discussing the following quotations said by some of the characters that belong to the movie. First is we have Hector, which he says, "All my life I've lived by a code, and the code is simple. Honor the gods, love your woman, and defend your country. Troy is mother to us all, fight for her." Second, we have Odysseus, which he says, "Men are haunted by the vastness of eternity, and so we ask ourselves, will our actions echo across the centuries? Will strangers hear our names long after we are gone, and wonder who we were, how bravely we fought, how fiercely we loved?" For number three, we have Paris, which he says, "Father, you are a great king because you love your country so much. Every blade of grass, every grain of sand, every rock in the river, you love all of Troy. That is the way I love Helen." For number four, we have Odysseus again, which he says, "Women have a way of complicating things." For number five, we have Achilles. He said, "I'll tell you a secret, something they don't teach you in your temple. The gods envy us. They envy us because we are mortal, because any moment might be our last. Everything is more beautiful because we are doomed. You will never be lovelier than you are. We will never be here again." For number six, we have Priam, which he said, "I've fought many wars in my time. Some I've fought for the land, some for power, some for glory. I suppose fighting for love makes more sense than all the rest." Before we give an analysis or an interpretation to the quotations, let us first have a background of what the movie Troy is all about. So the film Troy is based on Homer's Iliad. The battle between the ancient kingdoms of Troy and Sparta is depicted in this epic. So while visiting Spartan king Menelaus, Trojan prince Paris falls for Menelaus' wife, which is named Helen, and having already defeated every army in Greece, uses his brother's fury as a pretext to declare war on Troy. So the last kingdom standing in his way of gaining control of the Aegean Sea. Troy was an ancient city on the northwest coast of Asia Minor in what is now Turkey. So most scholars agree that Troy was a real city, not an imagined Shangri-La, and that the Trojan War did take place. Archaeologists studying Homer's poem believe the legendary war was a process rather than a single event. The film Troy was produced by a number of companies including Warner Bros. Pictures, Village Roadshow Pictures, Plan B Entertainment, Warner Brothers, Helena Productions, Nimar Studios, and Regent Pictures are among the companies involved. Wolfgang Peterson directed this film, which was released in the Philippines on May 13, 2004. Okay, for number one, again we have Hector, which he said, "All my life I've lived by a code, and the code is simple. Honor the gods, love your woman, and defend your country. Troy is mother to us all, fight for her." So, Hector is the oldest son of King Priam and Hecuba. He was the presumed heir to the throne of Troy in Greek mythology, the most famous Trojan hero of the Trojan War, and the main defender of Troy and Apollo's favorite. He almost won the war for Trojan. So what does Hector mean when he said, "All my life I've lived by a code, and the code is simple. Honor the gods, love your woman, and defend your country. Troy is mother to us all, fight for her." So the code that Hector is referring to is the heroic code, which comes with great responsibility, including protection for his king, wives, people, brother, and country, which is Troy. This code is based on or derived from Homeric society. Hector strongly believes in cultural code. Because he is descended from the lineage of the future king of Troy, he is expected to have a duty to protect his people. In the film, he is very strong, faithful, and respectful to their god Apollo, and he cares deeply about his people. He has devoted his life to helping others, and he is an example of a model Homeric man. He was a good man who was focused on his duty, and as a product of Homeric culture, his closeness and attitude toward women and children are natural to him. Again, for number two, we have Odysseus, which he said, men are haunted by the vastness of eternity, and so we ask ourselves, will our actions echo across the centuries? Will strangers hear our names long after we are gone, and wonder who we were, and how bravely we fought, how fiercely we loved? So who is Odysseus in Troy? Odysseus was a Greek hero known for his wit and cunning. He was a hero during the Trojan War, both as a strategist and a warrior, eventually devising the famous strategy that determined the outcome of the bloody conflict, which is the Trojan horse. Odysseus made it clear that he wants to be remembered just as much as we do. It has been said that the Greek gods and goddesses desire to be famous, but in this case, we can clearly see that Odysseus himself desired to be remembered for how he fought and what legacy he left. And in his case, he has truly created something to be proud of and remember. He was the intelligence behind their victory in the Trojan War. He has been and will always be remembered for his experiences with war, love, and fighting alongside with his people. His unforgettable Trojan horse, as well as how he persuaded Achilles to join him in the war, will be remembered for the rest of the time. Odysseus may have mentioned this because he understood that life is only temporary and that would eventually enter our lives. Paris is one of King Priam's son. Paris plays an important role in the film Troy. Because of his love for Helen, which is a married woman, he and she eloped, resulting in a war between the Spartans and the Trojans. Paris said this in the movie, "Father, you're a great king because you love your country so much. Every blade of grass, every grain of sand, every rock in the river, you love all of Troy. That is the way I love Helen." So as we can see from the quote or the words that Paris has uttered, he is madly in love with Menelaus' wife. He is using his father's love for Troy as a metaphor for his love for Helen. However, there are several interpretations of this statement mentioned by him. The first is that it could be the strength of love in which the person in love is willing to do anything for his love of his life. We can also see that he is only concerned with his girl, which he was preoccupied with Helen, that he failed to notice that what he was doing was causing serious problems for his country or land. He will be interpreted as self-centered by this statement, even though there are times in life when we can choose to be self-centered, especially when it comes to the person we love the most. However, when Paris using these words in the film, we can see that he is explaining himself as well as attempting to persuade his father to side with him and support what he has been doing. As a result of these words, we can see how spoiled and loved he is by his father. Then we have Odysseus, which he said women have a way of complicating things. Odysseus' intelligence made perfect sense in this part of the story or the film. When he said women have a way of complicating things, I can say that it is true, but women have a basis whenever we complicate things. Women are good at balancing the circumstances, which is why women think overly. In the case of the movie Troy, we can see how Helen was doing. She has been neglectful, and she is one of the reasons why many people died. This is because of her uncontrollable lust. However, we can see how women are valued and respected, particularly on Hector's side or among his people. But women are not given much opportunity with the Greeks, which they are degraded by the Greek men, but not always, as shown in the film, when Achilles frees one of the Trojan women. Although she was degraded, knowing Achilles' motives, she was at least freed and protected at that time. We can also see how women are treated after the war, but women know how to play because they are strategic, but their situation is difficult to imagine. So, as wives and mothers, the women of Troy are the passive victims of the war who are less fortunate than men. Men die, but women lived on, and the women of a defeated city are fated to become the victor's property. I'll tell you a secret, something they don't teach you in your temples. The God envy us. They envy us because we are mortal, because any moment could be our last, and everything is more beautiful because we are doomed. You will never be lovelier than you are now. We will never be here again, Achilles says. When Achilles says this, he means that God or gods wish to be mortals like them, and Achilles wished to have God's immortality. But because he knew he will die, he accepted this as his reality. Achilles desires the immortality of gods because he is a product of a Homeric society and warriors who desire immortality. Achilles effectively inverts the metaphysical justification for heroic warfare when he says this. And he was saying this in front of a Trojan woman, in front of whom he clearly has an interest, but this time his intention was good, and keeping the woman safe is manly on his part. It emphasizes, in my opinion, that the value of life stems from its impermanence. Seize the day because there will never be another like it. Then we have Priam, the king of Troy. I've fought many wars in my time. Some I've fought for land, some for power, some for glory. I suppose fighting for love makes more sense than all the rest. King Priam is the father of Hector and Paris and the king of Troy. He possesses numerous strengths including courage, a desire to protect his people, empathy, and love for his sons. He approaches a difficult situation in an unusual manner. He is someone who is forced by circumstances to witness the deaths of many people he cares about. Although he is unable to save those around him, it is clear that he cares deeply for them. So when he says, I've fought many wars in my time, some for land, some for power, some for glory, but I suppose fighting for love makes more sense than all the rest. He doesn't just mean that he will fight for his son's tragic love, but also for being a father and king to his people. He is a very loving king who wishes the best for his people, especially his sons. When he said that, he truly meant that he wanted to fight and was prepared to go to war. This is the true love depicted in the film, which is the love from a father and a king. Okay, that's all for today's video, and that's all for Troy, a movie in 2004. Thank you for your time. See you next time.